What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Purple People Podcast. My name is Kyle Smith. Momentarily, I'm only joined by Adam Carlson. How are you, sir?
Hey, I have a cat laying on my left hand, so I will only be gesturing with my right hand. Sorry about that.
That's fair. Kyle West is en route. He will join us whenever he pops in. But yeah, welcome. I see we have our old faithfuls in the chat. Shout out Purple and Gold for chiming in about half an hour ago.
See, I don't know how old they are. I never asked.
Yeah, I have no idea.
Never ask a lady her age is what they say.
That's true. That's good. We're not going to do that, Charlotte. We'll say thank you for keeping us accountable. As soon as I was typing that message, I could feel your, not judgment, your accountability coming in. I was debating on y'all or the resident. Well, thank you. I appreciate that. Jonathan, welcome in.
You know what show is kind of fun is Resident Alien. Have you watched that one?
I haven't. I don't know if I've heard of this.
It's a comedy, and I streamed the first couple seasons, and I enjoyed the heck out of it. I thought it was very funny.
You'll have to send it to me in our personal chat. I'll check that out. Especially on the slow days at the airport. I can get in a few episodes of just about anything there.
That's the bot over on Twitch that tells us we're running. And it kicks people that use vulgar language and stuff like that.
I love that. This is such a good saying right here. I act my shoe size and not my age. You know what, Charlotte? You might be a brat. I would never call you that. But if you're going to call yourself that, you're our brat. And we appreciate you here. Every week, you guys are on time, and we appreciate that.
Yeah, you guys are on time more than we are.
Oh, yeah. They definitely are. I was going to try to be on early today, too, but I was watching before we get into Vikings stuff, I was watching the kill count. Some random stuff about I think it was just a suggestion because I've been watching a lot of the Friday the 13th recounts. I watched the 2022 Texas Chainsaw kill recount. Forgot how much I did not like that movie.
I was in a horror group on Facebook debating the merits of the movie Bodies, Bodies, Bodies.
Ooh. I think we talked about doing that on our other show. Still down to do that. I haven't seen it yet. Here we go. One for you. Real Purple and Gold asked Adam, is season 11 the last of The Walking Dead?
It is. That it has finished. So, yeah, season 11 was it. We're also in the final season right now. It will start pretty soon here, but the last season of Fear the Walking Dead, then that will end as well.
Adam is our resident Walking Dead expert. You can find a lot of his work. We'll do a little plugging at the beginning of the show at thevikingage.com. You can go there and find an article that he's written. Click on it, comment underneath it, pump up his numbers, and he will do well in his bank account. We appreciate that.
It's true. I wrote a couple today, and I'll have one out tomorrow morning.
He's upset about that. Yeah, Walking Dead had a really good run.
Well, there's 3 spinoffs coming, so I mean, it's not like you're going to go without content. And one of them is the Rick and Michonne spinoff, and that one is what I'm looking forward to because those are, 2 of the characters that really got people to love the series.
For sure. Well, while we transition to Vikings talk, almost 4 minutes in and not a single thing spoken about our beloved team, I'm going to read you guys a quote today from Ben Gessling. I don't know if I speak for Adam on this, but I assume that I do. Ben Gessling's a pretty trusted source for Vikings news. He's not really a huge personality on Twitter as far as opinions and clickbait. I trust his stuff and his reporting. He's pretty even keel. So shout out to Ben Gessling. This is today, and there's a good picture of Justin Jefferson doing the first down nod. One interesting note from Vikings general manager Kwesi Adofo-Mensah's side session with beat writers at the NFL Combine. He said the team will keep Justin Jefferson in its conversations about roster building, adding that he is a unique enough player. I think that's probably right. Now, I'm going to leave it up to Adam to kick this off, but everyone in the comments, tell us your thoughts on having Justin Jefferson being able to weigh in on how the roster is built. Adam, what say you?
Well, this isn't anything new around the NFL, so having a star player in on conversations about major changes to the team. And I bet you that one of the major conversations that comes is how do you feel about Kirk Cousins? Because that's the major topic everywhere.
Right.
And aside from, a playbook and schemes, that's the biggest thing for a receiver is having a quarterback you trust.
I agree with you. It's not that big of a deal. I'm sure even if Bill would not admit it, Tom Brady had a little bit of pull there in New England, and it goes down the line. You think Patrick Mahomes doesn't have Kansas City right by the you know what? I'm sure he does to some degree. Kirk being the quarterback is key. We'll talk about some more comments from Kwesi about Kirk Cousins, but it's just it makes sense. Justin Jefferson is the face of this franchise now. Don't get it twisted.
The Vikings GM also said that working out a long-term deal with Jefferson is a priority.
Yeah, I think that he knows the fan base would riot and ticket sales would go down. That would be bad for everyone.
See, and I see all these comments on posts about that, about like no duh, and that's okay, Captain Obvious, but isn't it nice to hear it?
That's it. You know what? I've seen the same exact comments you're talking about, Adam, and what I've divulged into. And I'm starting a new rule. A lot of people are ahead of me by years on this, but this was something I failed to do. I am not going to read any subtweets, and I'm not going to read any comments on Facebook under any article because people in there just piss me off to the 10th degree. Immediately, somebody says something very snarky or whatever. But I saw those comments too, and just like with us. This thing here, it was on Facebook and a Vikings page, whatever. Guys were like, that's a bad idea. Like, how in the world is that a bad idea? Like, I'll never understand as I go on a tangent here. All these, and it's old boomer white guys. It's always those. I'll just call it out how it is. You guys are such pro management and you like bend the knee for the corporation. It's so weird. You don't want to stand up for your peers and your own self and imagine that being the company you work for. You wouldn't want your opinion being valued by the people who run the business? What if they asked you? You don't think the top performers in your field have a say-so in certain things or at least get their opinion heard? It's the weirdest thing where people, they just get all like righteous about stuff. And I can't understand why.
I actually put an article over on the Viking Age today about the NFLPA was putting together a list of, or they actually graded several aspects of NFL teams, including their training staff and facilities. And the Vikings got A's across the board. The lowest grade they got was an A-.
I think I saw the same thing you're talking about. I don't know if you shared it in our chat or where I saw that, but this does wonders for, maybe it was in our chat, for recruiting to get free agents to come in because let's face it, Minnesota during the season is probably not the most ideal place outside of the month of September, but everything there is state of the art. And
if you want to see something scary, look at the Cardinals grades on those. They actually got 2 Fs. One of them is an F-.
Oh my god! I was wondering. I thought it would be Cincinnati. I've heard horrible.
And one of them is family life, like how they treat the players' families.
Wow. Okay. Yeah, that is a red flag. Like I was saying, I assumed Cincinnati was on there because there's been a lot of talk about how the owner there has been cheap, blah blah blah. But with the emergence of Jamar Chase and Joe Burrow, I
was wondering why the Cardinals never seem to get a lot of free agents. Why they trade for players rather than signing free agents. And is the culture there that bad?
That's crazy. It's the little nuances of insight. This right here is the stuff that I just eat up like a total nerd because I'm like, you never would have known that about Arizona. It seems like a pretty cool place to be. Arizona's not a bad state by any means.
Yeah, I thought the biggest issue with the Cardinals was the tiff between the player, the quarterback and the head coach. I thought that was the major issue right there, but
right.
It sounds like it's a lot deeper.
Little stuff like that stands out too. Can't be undernoted there is if you get blown away by the facility, there's a certain feeling you're going to get. The kind of the same way walking through a tour of the LA Chargers and LA Rams Stadium, SoFi Stadium out in Inglewood. Oh my God. If that was the place you came to work every Sunday, you'd be blown away. It's so state of the art and this looks great. And it automatically puts you in like, obviously a good mood, but what's the word I'm looking for?
I hope you get to check out US Bank one of these days and maybe go to Viking Lakes and check out their place. If you go over that way, stay in that hotel in Viking Lakes.
I will.
Because it overlooks the practice facility. It's fantastic.
I won't give out names, but I do have an in with the Vikings, and I know I could get basically a tour, as long as I schedule far enough ahead. So I'm excited for that, and I can't wait to go. I've determined it now. I'm already starting to save my money. I'm going to take my dad to go see them play the Kansas City Chiefs this year. So I'll probably end our streak of wins of me being 4-0 when Vikings play and I'm watching the game live, but it's totally all right. Let's get to Jonathan's comment. I don't think it's a bad idea to have Justin Jefferson in the development of this team, just as long as he remembers it's team focus, not a JJ is the Vikings. Yeah, I don't think Justin Jefferson thinks that. Of course, he's going to want the ball, and we're going to want him to get the ball early and often. But it's nice to have this sort of mentality. Remember, just a couple of years ago, there was a lot of friction between management and the players, particularly the head coach. So feeling included is a positive thing. It's not. There's nothing negative about asking players to do that. And
Yeah, I don't think Justin Jefferson's going to be the final decision maker in any franchise-changing decisions. But I think bringing him in to talk about those changes is important.
absolutely, yeah, he's not the general manager, but asking what he thinks makes him feel valued and included. And back to your point earlier, talking about the management making it a point to tell the media that they are in talks of extending him. That's a good thing as well. You don't want to get into one of those situations where you start franchise tagging and the player feels like you're not committed, which he's not even up to be tagged yet. But we kind of knew with the 3 seasons that he's had to start his career, probably going to get extended early, and that's okay. That's all right. You want to lock that guy down for a very long time.
Were you able to check out Kevin O'Connell's presser today?
I did not. I decided to take a nap instead, and I know I'm going to regret that in the morning for work.
He said something kind of interesting that made me fear for one of the Vikings' jobs. He said that he got asked what he's going to look for specifically in players, and the question specifically brought up wide receivers, and he said, brought up some of the things like natural talent and things like that. But he also said their ability to do other things like do they have experience returning punts? Is that saying that Jalen Reagor is definitely not inked in to return after Minnesota traded for him?
This is the perfect segue, man. This is the episode in the offseason where we're going to break down position groups. We did quarterback last week. We're doing wide receivers this week. This one's literally called Catchin Thiels, making a parody at Catchin Thiels, as the phrase goes for the young kids these days.
I was going to ask about that, but I didn't want to feel like, the old guy on the show.
Trust me, I did too, typing that out. But I want to focus on that with Adam Thielen, but we're going to start in a money-centric way of looking at the roster. I'm on Spot Track, and I'm looking at the free agent trackers here. I'm sorry, that's a free agent tracker on Spot Track. The Vikings roster going all the way down to Tristan Jackson and Blake Prohl. Shout out to Blake Prohl, by the way. That dude can sing his ass off. He is very, very good. Should check out his social media. He definitely has a talented career outside of football, if this is not the end-all, be-all. Looks like based on the salary, he's on the practice squad, which is still pretty good. But going up to the guys you've seen on the field, we'll start with Jalen Naylor, $915,000. Same thing for.
Yeah, he's on a cheap rookie deal, and he made that play towards the end of the season that showed some potential.
Absolutely,
he should be able to stick around.
Jalen Reagor is number 22 at the cap hit for the team with $2.4 million. And let's talk about him. Let's stop there and make that the conversation topic of the day. Jalen Reagor is such a crazy anomaly in the NFL period because getting taken before Justin Jefferson, seeing their careers. First of all, we always have to say it. The kids can't choose when and where they're drafted. To a certain level, they can based on their play and production in college. They'll know kind of sort of where they're going to go. But that's always going to be a comparison unfairly for him being taken by Philadelphia right before the Vikings decided to take Justin Jefferson. We were all excited on this team because it's a first-round graded wide receiver. Now, does that always translate to production on the field? Obviously not. He did not have a good time in Philadelphia, but we were particularly excited about his return abilities. I'm going to go ahead and say, based on your question and everything else, just on my opinion, and I'm sure you share it, his job's up for grabs just as anyone else's towards the bottom of the roster. He's had a couple of plays at receiver that were not very good, caused some turnovers. And also, I don't know. He didn't have a punt return touchdown, which is, it's harder to do. But did he blow you away with his punt return abilities? I wasn't blown away.
No. He definitely made some mistakes as well.
He did. He definitely made a mistake or two. One, like we said, causing a turnover, which was, well, it happens. You can't fault everyone for a mistake just because it's highlighted. But when you have limited playing time like he did, especially on offense, you kind of have to make the most of the moment. We did see a drop or two, which was kind of his thing in Philadelphia. But yeah, if they're calling out the punt returning specifically, I would be worried if I'm Jalen Rager. I would be
I don't know
worried
if it
about
was
my
me
gut
reading too
feel.
much into what he was saying, or him just throwing an example out, or wanting competition. But I mean, it didn't sound great for him.
Right.
And also, it doesn't sound great in that case for the GM who traded a pick to bring him in.
The ebbs and flows of what will be judged of
Because
Quincy
what, Minnesota
definitions
only has
here.
4 draft picks this year?
Yeah, it's going to be slim picking. It's going to be interesting to see how they can get some of that capital back.
They're going to have to either play it really safe or take a big swing.
Mike, what's up?
Which way would you go with it? Would you, with 4 picks, do you play it safe and take the prospects that you feel would fit and do okay, or do you try to take a big swing and bring in a guy that you think is well worth almost a whole draft class?
I always take this into consideration when we talk about this question: is where's your money at? Right now, the Vikings are negative 23 over the cap, which means they're going to have to get rid of people. I expect that to happen. It is the month of March, by the way. This is Wednesday, March 1st. So there will be some heads rolling. There's already been a couple guys on other teams cut already. The question is, where's your money at when you start making these decisions? I always lean towards going with a solidified talent is good. But if you know they're really good, that usually means they're going to cost more. So Vikings aren't really in that situation. The other part of your question that's interesting, the Vikings only have 4 picks. And I said this in a Twitter talk space last week. The more chances you get, it's kind of like if you and I were in a free throw contest. They want to say, hey, both of you, the winner between both of you gets $1 million. Adam, you get 4 shots. Kyle, you get 8. Well, who has the probability of making a shot? Of course, I have a better chance mathematically. So when we translate that to draft picks, I'm not saying they could trade enough players to get 8 picks. I'm just throwing that random number out there. But
Right.
if you look at it that way, you have to nail all of your picks. And let's be honest, the NFL draft, whether it's the first pick or the 200 whatever Mr. Irrelevant pick, it's a crapshoot.
And like you were saying, you've got those 4 rookies that can be on a roster and take up almost no salary cap instead of spending money on free agents.
It's very true. You have to nail them. And then outside of things that you can't control, like injuries or whatever, you have to absolutely nail it. And I think one team that's done that really well in the last year or two is definitely Philadelphia. They've hit on a lot of picks. But
Seattle last year, holy cow.
Yeah, I forgot all about them. They landed a great number of starters in one draft, which can completely turn your season around. We've said this on recent shows. We thought Seattle and Chicago were going to fight for the number 1 pick this year, and Seattle made the playoffs.
Oh, yeah.
So
I did not see that coming.
Nobody did. And if they did, I want to see the proof on the timestamp that they said they were going to be a playoff team. But yeah, to your point, man, I just don't know. I think if you're going to go draft heavy, you need to have more chances to succeed, which means more picks. I won't be opposed to them trading for a surefire talent over someone that has to get adjusted to the league.
Like, I am not mad the Vikings traded away 2 picks for TJ Hawkinson. I'm not mad about that at all right now.
No, not at all. We love that guy.
I don't think they could have found a talent in the draft that would fill in as well as he does with the picks that they had.
Totally agree.
So the fact the Vikings have 4 picks, they were able to bring in some players that will fit what the Vikings want to do. But Minnesota also threw around some picks that now it's hurting a little bit that the GM and scouts and stuff are really going to have to hit on these 4 picks. And that makes this offseason even more crucial.
Yeah, it does. I think
because another bad draft and people will probably start to riot.
I feel like the microscope is even more on this coaching staff and GM than it was last year. Because last year was coming off of 8-9, hard-nosed Mike Zimmer. Now it's just like, well, let's just see what the philosophy is. And there were a couple of things the fans didn't like, a couple of things the fans did. But I don't know. I feel like they are under scrutiny here because you don't want to give away as much of these assets as you But I think there's going to be a trade of someone that we've known on the team for a long time. Probably, if I had to take a guess, it would be Thielen or Cook, but I don't think anyone's taking Thielen's contract. So I'm leaning more towards Dalvin Cook. I think he still has trade value. That or
Did you think it was interesting yesterday when Queasy was talking about the linebackers that he did not mention Hicks or Kendricks?
I didn't get to see this, so I'm not sure what he did say and did not say, but that is very interesting.
To everybody else.
That's crazy. I know we talked about the potential and really the admiration of what's to come for Brian Asamoah, but I don't think he's quite ready to have the green dot on his helmet and run the defense and be the captain there. So I don't know what's going to happen with that. I want to get to this comment because we've had it up for a minute or two. Thank you guys for doing draft scouting for us because I haven't started that whatsoever. Wes says, as I said before, I would love the Vikings to take a look at getting wide receiver Trey Palmer out of Nebraska. Had the same wide receiver coach at LSU as Justin Jefferson. So there is a small tie there. Obviously, the talent in the receiver has to be there for him to have any sort of translation. But having the same coach is pretty cool. That's a cool little nugget. And I will definitely remember that name, Wes, and I will give him a solid 5 to 10 minutes of my time looking on YouTube highlights. I just want to see what the explosivity is and separation.
I've still got sleepy eyes, so that looked like Trey Parker to me, and I'm like, oh, what?
Oh, man. Shout out to South Park. Jonathan says, hopefully last year's draft picks actually contribute next year, and this year's picks are spot on from the jump. Yeah, see, this is what we were talking about, man. This is hard because you have to hope that everyone from last year, they were just injured, and it happens. We get it. Almost everyone minus Justin and Kirk have been injured at some point, so we get it. But what's the probability of that happening?
Both Quincy and Kevin O'Connell were asked about the future in the secondary with these young players that didn't really get opportunities to showcase their abilities. And it sounds like they're both pretty excited about getting them going, especially Lewis Cine.
Yeah, Lewis Cine's ready to go.
Who every day is in the facility, according to Kevin O'Connell, working hard and ready to get back into action.
He's in the facility. I did see that, what's his name? No, I'm blanking. Christian Darrisaw was just at the facility yesterday or 2 days ago, which is pretty cool. Love seeing that. Oh, here we go. Come on in, stranger.
Hey, what are we talking about?
What's up? Kyle West is joining us. So we're talking about wide receivers. We just talked about some stuff that Quessy had said. We talked about...
We're going to trade Justin Jefferson.
Here we go.
Bold take. No. I think he's good. I think he's going to make the 53 roster next year.
There's a chance.
Hot take right here.
There's a chance, yeah.
So we started off talking a little bit about let me scroll up here just for a little bit. We got some Walking Dead action from Real Purple and Gold, which was fun.
Nice,
Jonathan, Charlotte, Mike, and Wes are in the chat with us. Well, obviously, we're wide receiver centric. We're talking about the roster and how much people cost. Adam mentioned Quasey talking about looking at a punt returner possibly, which puts Jalen Rager's job on the line a little bit. We're not reading.
That was Kevin O'Connell that said that.
Sorry, Kevin O'Connell mentioned that. Kyle, I know you're really upset because you have about 7 Jalen Rager Viking jerseys that you'll have to return.
I'm heartbroken over that one. No, you know what though? I understand why the Vikings made that trade because you look at his intangibles, he's a big guy, he's speedy, you want to get him involved in the game. I get why Eagles fans are frustrated with him. It just doesn't quite seem to translate onto the field. So, you know what? You pull him through training camp and preseason and you see what happens. I'm not going to hold my breath on that one, but yeah, that's an area where you look to upgrade.
Do you guys think Jalen Rager has a really solid chance to make the roster if he does not get the job as punt returner this season? Or how much does that hurt his ability to maybe stick on the roster?
I think it cuts significantly. I don't think it's a surefire thing that he's gone because right now he is. I mean, this is March 1st, but right now he is the punt returner.
He has shown some speed and athleticism.
He does. He has raw athletic ability. We've seen that for sure, which really sucks because I know this particular guy I'm about to name didn't return punts, but we saw this exact kind of situation play out with Laquan Treadwell. I mean, the dude is just a massive body and athlete, but not a lot translated good on the field, which is kind of it sucks because we've seen this before.
And
But
before Treadwell left, he got put on special teams.
True. I think if he's not the punt returner, I think that significantly cuts into his chances. Kyle, we were just talking about this before. I have the spot track pulled up with everyone's cap hits, and he is currently 22nd with only 2.4 million, which is a fair price tag for him.
So you're not really paying him much. I kind of agree with Adam, though. I think that special teams is how he makes the roster. If he gets beat out at the punt return job with someone else, I really don't know what you're keeping him there for, because usually when you get down into your wide receiver 4-5 bracket where he's sitting, you've got to be a contributor on special teams, and if you're not doing that, I don't think you make the roster.
This is a fun thing I'm doing here. It has nothing to do with what you just said, but you can go on Spot Track. You can go to the NFL team roster and salary cap manager. I've cut 4 veterans from last year within the top 11 cap space.
Who'd you cut?
I cut Eric Kendricks, Darius Smith, Thielen, and Jordan Hicks, and we are now $9.8 million free of the cap. We have money to spend. So this is kind of cool. That's kind of cool. Yeah, as far as it goes with Jalen Reagor, sorry, I had a mind blank there. Jalen Naylor, yes, Jalen Naylor is a wide receiver. He's on a rookie deal. So
and we talked about him a little bit already.
Yeah, we talked about him just a little bit going up the roster. I mentioned a couple of the guys that are on the practice squad based on the salary that I saw. But Jalen Naylor showed a little bit of promise. It's just hard to beat out the other guys to get on the field. But it's another thing we were talking about too, Kyle. We're talking about just how draft hits are going to have to hit. Would you rather than try to trade some more players and get more picks, or would you try to play it safe and just hope you nail the 4 that we have? And my point of it was, and we'll see what your thoughts are, it's a probability game. So the less picks you have, the more they have to be surefire. But the NFL draft is not surefire ever. It's a 50-50 gamble. So I would go with, hoping to have more picks, because the more chances you have to hit the dartboard, better chance you'll land on something great. But it's tough. I also said I think this management is under more scrutiny this year than they were last year, because
I also don't think the Vikings' needs are as obvious as in the past. You look at this roster and you see holes. You know Minnesota is going to want to improve at center, right guard, somewhere in that place right there. They got to do something, and then they're going to need a replacement wide receiver. They're going to need a replacement linebacker probably. They're going to want some depth on the edge. And, of course, everyone thinks that Minnesota is going to go corner in the first round.
Mm-hmm.
Daniel Jeremiah. Poor Daniel Jeremiah was getting drugged through the mud. He made a comment yesterday talking to one of the Vikings social media reporters and said, I think you look at last year and you probably say, you can't go anywhere but defense, right? And everybody was like, well, no shit, Captain Obvious. Like, I mean, he's not wrong. How can you be mad at the guy for trying to make the team better? Like, of course they're going to look at defense.
If you ship Adam Thielen out, though, I mean, and a receiver falls to you in the first round, you have to consider it.
Mm-hmm.
I think so.
Even if you don't ship out Adam Thielen, let's say you're able to smooth it over whatever's got him a little angry, supposedly, if you read that right now. So if you smooth it over with him, you get the financials figured out. Hey, we're going to keep Adam Thielen as a Viking, because I do think he can contribute, if he's healthy, as more of a number 3 receiver instead of the number 2 role that he's in. But you're still looking at needing to add that number 2, that guy who can pair up alongside Justin Jefferson. Now, I know we got TJ Hawkinson, who fills that role, but he's not quite the down-the-field vertical threat guy that I kind of think you kind of want to pair with Jefferson right now. So, I know we got to go defense, but receiver is up there for an area in the draft that I think you're looking at addressing earlier. We went through the free agents a little bit.
I've got those pulled up. We'll talk about those in a little bit.
Right. There are some guys that you can plug and play, but I don't necessarily know if the Vikings want to spend a lot of money in free agency for a receiver. So back to the point that you made a little bit ago, Smith, you really have to hit home on your draft picks, because you don't have a lot of financials to spread around on this team. So you really need those rookies to step up and contribute.
I agree. Mike has a great point too. Don't worry so much about position of the. Go after a player. A lot of places can use some help. So if you have a surefire player, as long as you're not reaching too high on your draft board and overdrafting, go for it. I'm all about that, especially if you fall in love with a player and think he's a good person and he's our guy, our kind of player. I absolutely love that. It's a great comment.
Historically, when you look at the draft and the Vikings went into a draft kind of looking specifically at one position, that's when the Vikings have had some of the most disappointing first rounders.
Absolutely.
Right. And our favorite comparison that we like to make here on the podcast, Adam, is that we didn't need Adrian Peterson when we drafted Adrian Peterson. We had Chester Taylor.
Point.
Chester Taylor was coming off a 1,000-yard season. We were fans of him. He's doing good. But hey, there's AP right in front of you in the draft, and so you took him, and it wasn't a position in need, but you got a future Hall of Famer who was able to contribute for a long stretch of time. So, like you said, you could look at like tight end with TJ Hawkinson right now. I'm not looking to draft another tight end, but if somehow there was a big stud at that position that just absolutely fell that's in front of you, okay, we'll do what New England did with Gronkowski and he who shall not be named, and and we'll just have two really good tight ends on the team. Like, that's an okay scenario as well.
It's funny you mentioned Adrian Peterson, because I don't know if you remember that Peter Boo, whatever his name is, that is on Twitter, that he runs a Packers thing.
He's a troll.
And he said that coming out of college, Adrian Peterson was not considered a generational prospect. And I don't know, I watched that draft and everything leading up to it, and boy, they were talking about him like he was.
That guy's such a fucking tool.
The only question mark surrounding him going into that draft was his shoulder injury.
I was going to say it's been a while, but the only thing I remember was the injury concern, which is why he fell to the Vikings in that draft.
Right, because he couldn't contribute immediately because of that shoulder injury.
So that brings up 2 points that have nothing to do with this particular show's episodes, but think about falling to number 7 being a fall. And look how high the running backs used to be drafted.
Yeah.
It's so wild how much the NFL's changed. But such a solid point from Kyle talking about not needing Adrian Peterson, and now he's going to go in the Hall of Fame. It's just I agree with.
Here's the thing, though, real quick,
go ahead.
Not to get completely off subject, but if Adrian Peterson was coming out in the 2023 NFL Draft, based on where running backs are, the position. I mean, is he a second-round pick, or is he so damn good that you're still talking top 10 player? Because I still think you're talking top 10 player, even at the running back position.
That is a tough question.
I don't think top 10 based on the way the game's played, but I think somebody would take a chance. And this is part of it. This is not taking anything away from Adrian Peterson. I'm not comparing him to a former Bills running back.
I mean, I still think he's a first-rounder.
He's a first-rounder, and I'll tell you one of the reasons why. That fifth-year option changes everything. That's the whole reason we're talking about Lamar Jackson so damn much right now.
Yeah, that's
if he would have slipped to pick 33, Baltimore would either be gone with him already or already have signed him. I swear that changes everything. But
too bad we don't have a quarterback show today. We could be talking about Wentz and Mariota probably coming to Minnesota.
No,
to replace Kirk Cousins.
One of them coming as the backup, 100%, 100%. And that's no shot at Nick Mullins either. It is a shot at Sean Mannion. I still hate that you were on the.
Well, Nick Mullins is scheduled to become a free agent, and that's kind of sad.
It is sad, but both of those guys have started before, have been to the playoffs and won games. Like, I mean, why not have that? That's a good safety net at a backup because you know what you're getting in those guys.
I would give more money to Nick Mullins to not have Carson Wentz on this roster.
Well, here's the thing: if he's a backup. Who cares? At least that's the one continuity you have with Kirk. Love him or hate him, that dude stays on the field more than he's not. Way more. So why not?
Jonathan, we got to know what kind of ice cream.
As long as Kirk doesn't catch COVID, he's usually all right.
Right.
Yeah.
Let's talk about Andrew's comment here since we're talking about the draft and everything. Andrew thinks you should trust your current corners and safeties, which is tough because I don't know that you considered this, Andrew, but Patrick Peterson hasn't been – I think he's a free agent or a restricted free agent of some sort. and your safeties. Now, Harrison Smith is here. Lucine is coming back. I don't know if I trust if Patrick Peterson leaves. I don't know if I'm giving the reins to Andrew Booth and Dantzler and A. Caleb Evans to start. I don't know about that. I don't know. Franchise tag. Mike, who are you talking about franchise?
I would feel a lot better about the secondary if I knew that both Za'Darius and Hunter were coming back and both were going to be healthy.
Mm-hmm.
That's a good point.
Because an edge rush can make things so much easier for a secondary.
He says if you keep those current ones and improve on linebacker and defensive line, you could get some good picks in the draft and free agency. You could splash. Yeah, that's true. It's all going to snowball here soon because the new league year is going to start this month. And then
as soon as the league year starts, you just
player cuts are just going to start raining in.
Yeah, here comes all the news.
So here's why I don't think you're going to tag Kirk and anything. He won't accept that. He's going to want the contract extension and talk.
And if you want to make Justin Jefferson mad, tag him.
Yeah, I'm getting to that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Kirk had that issue with Washington, and the reason he took it was because he got guaranteed money and it kept going up. If you know anything about the franchise, Mike, I'm sure you do, but for anybody that doesn't, once you tag him 1 year, if you tag him again, the price tag goes up. So it's about commitment for Kirk Cousins. That's why he loves Minnesota, because they were like, here. Not
and
only
Jefferson's only going into year 3, right?
Right.
So if he plays through year 3 and somehow he plays through year 4,
well, he's going into year 4.
You can put the 5th-year option on him, and so you don't have to tag him there. If you have to tag him that last year, you do, just to get one more year out of him, but then you can't expect him to want to come back when he's a free agent.
Mm-hmm.
So for Adam's point, so Jefferson's going into year 4 right now. He would have to play all of this year, get his 5th-year option next year, and then going basically 2 years from now, we would be in talks of do we tag him or give him a contract. Adam has it nailed, point to the head. It's what's going to happen here is Jefferson's not going to feel the love and the commitment, and he's going to say, well, you guys don't want to show me the commitment to give me a contract extension. 31 other teams out here would love to have me, and he'd want to leave. And that would be another dig situation of like, hey, I don't want to be here. Wouldn't be for the same circumstances, but
which is why you're already hearing the Vikings being pretty vocal about he's a top priority.
Yep.
Jefferson is our top priority. Like they want to make sure that.
We did say that, Kyle. I mentioned that earlier.
Yeah.
It's like this. Don't make a mistake. Kirk Cousins is a quarterback, and he's a top 10 quarterback. But Justin Jefferson is the face of the Minnesota Vikings. Don't get it.
Quincy did say that Kirk Cousins is good enough, and that he will probably be, that he believes in him. So I don't see Kirk going anywhere this year. I don't know about an extension or anything like that, but.
Andrew's got a good point here. I think our secondary's problems were scheme. Yeah, the defensive coordinator sucked last year. That's why I named the episode Ed Gonatello, because thank you for the memories. We'll see you later.
The umbrella.
By all accounts, a pretty good guy, which that always sucks when you're like, hey, he was a really good guy. Everyone liked him. Just not that good at his job, apparently.
Shout out. While you guys are, I didn't know you were watching Purple and Gold. We want to get you on the show. I didn't reach out because it was too close to showtime. You might have had other plans. But we're going to do, I'm assuming, tight ends next week. I'll give you the luxury of picking, all right? This is our dead time. Your dead time, too, talking about the Vikings. We want to have you on as a guest in the show. We pick your position group that you want to talk about and be most vocal about, and we'll let you come on and get your thoughts on that, and we'll invite you on the show for that. We're going to do one position group a week through the offseason. So
next week will probably be tight end or O-line, right?
Correct.
Tight end, then we'll switch over to offensive lineman.
So whatever position group you want on any side of the ball, let us know. You can jump in for that week. We would love to have you.
Want to talk about long snapper? We come in, we'll have a hour-long long snapping discussion.
We're going to show the thick boy punter some love for 60 straight minutes. Purple and Gold Day says Hunter will be re-signed. Talked about that with him on his show. Za'Darius Smith will only be back on a pay cut, and I have it here. Za'Darius Smith, where are you? Number 5 against the cap for this team, $15.49 million, so $15.5 million.
Damn, he was good when he was healthy.
Yeah.
If you can get that full season out of him, he would have been worth that contract, and you wouldn't be having this discussion. But
this is kind of the same thing that happened with him in Green Bay, is that he showed all these flashes of just being fantastic when he was healthy, but then when he wasn't 100%, he was not that player that could be a big difference maker that you thought he could be.
So the cap hit is 15.49 million, like we said. Dead cap would only be 3 million against, but the salary is 9.5 million. So he'll have a couple of bonuses there, here or there, but
I don't see Zadarius Smith taking a pay cut whatsoever.
I don't either. Don't either.
No, because what did I just do?
Yeah, Mike, we're glad we're not the GM either. That is one of the most difficult jobs in any sport, particularly the NFL, because of the cap.
This offseason will alter the direction of this franchise really hard. I mean, I know we said this last season too with the new GM and head coach, but now that they've hammered those in place, this is kind of taking the ship that they've decided on and trying to figure out which direction we're going to go with it.
For sure.
I agree. I had my little theory last year that we'll know more about what Kwesi is going to do in the draft this year, because now he's had a full, off season, a full year to get his plan in place, his scouts, how he evaluates talent. He works with Kevin O'Connell on what they want to build. They've got more of a working relationship with one another, because last year, you're coming in and you're very quickly trying to course correct what Rick Spielman was doing, and maybe the ship is already kind of steering in one way. You can't quite get it going the way you want it. So we'll see what he does this year with the draft. I think we're going to know a lot more about how he wants to build this team.
One of the most interesting things I've noticed is that I have not heard one lick of a disagreement between Kwesi and Kevin O'Connell so far, and it sounds like they're very tight-knit in their decision-making. So it sounds like they share a vision for this team, and so far they don't disagree really on a whole lot.
Adam, are you saying that the coach and general manager should be on the same page?
Yeah.
What a wild concept.
Here's an idea. If you disagree on something, you two can talk it out like adults.
Absolutely not, Kyle. You don't speak to each other for 2 full seasons. That's probably the best thing you can do. That is so insane to me that guys at this level still have that kind of pettiness where they just
adults.
did it. And even with that being like the quarterback situation, like, dude, I get it. You had like a miracle game and all these things, happened in 2017 that helped the team have a crazy win they shouldn't have gotten in the first place. But you also had that same team again 2 years later that you beat, that you shouldn't have beat. Again, you shouldn't have won that game. And the same quarterback that you hate makes the throw of his career during that game, and you still hate him. I can't understand it. And this is the thing. Like, I wish we could ask Mike Zimmer like bluntly, and he would tell, even if it was off the record, and he could just say it to us, not recorded and put out on a server for eternity. Why did you have such a love for Teddy, but you hated Kirk? Kirk is clearly a better quarterback than Teddy Bridgewater. I don't understand why he hates the guy so much. I don't get it.
That's one of those questions that we'll never know the answer to.
Well, we all know why Zimmer didn't want to bring Kirk in, is because he was an expensive free agent quarterback. He would eat into building Zimmer's defense the way he wanted it to be. Zimmer, and I hate to say this, but he was really hands-off when it came to the offense.
True.
He built that defense, and there was a reason that defense was his baby.
Which we kind of slightly missed last year. Even if he did have a down year his last year here, I would have loved that double-A gap blitz. I've said it 16 times already. This is such a funny comment. So Jalen Reagor is not going to be cut unless they need a roster spot. $2.4 million guaranteed, which is.
But they're not going to keep him on the team just because he has guaranteed money. If he's not the best player to bring in.
You're right. At that price, they would just eat the money and go. But this is hilarious. Unless they can trade him for a bag of footballs. I think him and his punt return abilities are kind of the saving grace to keep him, because that is such a low number. $2.4 million is nothing in NFL money to part.
Do you think he can play on coverage teams, maybe, if he doesn't make it as a returner?
I mean, he's got the speed. He's got good size. I don't see why not.
Can he play corner? Can we convert him?
Oh my god! Yeah, I just turn him into a corner. Watch him go to like Cincinnati and just turns into an all-pro corner out there. So
the unfortunate contracts, I don't think, are really the fault of a lot of the current managerial staff of Minnesota. It's these rollovers of these legacy players that we just didn't want to let go of.
Yeah.
Or wanted to reward for loyalty.
Charlotte says move him to the practice squad.
And don't get me wrong, I love players like Harrison Smith. And I felt Harrison Smith had a good season last year. I'd love to have him back this year. But then you got guys like Adam Thielen, who there's almost no way he can produce up to the value of his contract.
Well, let's get into it. That's kind of the whole reason I named the show after him. And we'll talk about this. Is insane when you think about it, because his name's not Justin Jefferson. And granted, the time is not quite there yet. But with the Vikings and their salary cap, total salary cap, $242 million. The available cap is $225. So they are 16.7 over. Scratch that. They are – I'm taking this away. I had one player not on there now. Now everyone's on. Okay, cool. Yeah, they are $16 million over the cap. Kirk Cousins, obviously quarterback, will be your most expensive position. Mm-hmm. I deleted Adam Thielen. Dang it. Let's go ahead and move him back. Yeah, saved $6.4 million. So that's really more than that if you get rid of him. He's the second most expensive player on this team. And that, as you guys alluded to.
You're not doing that. And, I was just thinking about that, too, about a comment I made about how, Thielen probably moves down the depth chart from, 2 to a 3. And hold on a little bit. That is the purple blinders of being a Vikings fan here, about being like, oh, he's probably like a 3 in the NFL. You're right, Adam. He was not good last year, whether it be through injuries or time catching up to him. Is he probably more like a 4 or a 5 on any other team right now, if we're being honest?
They're paying him like a 1 almost.
They're paying him like a 1. I said refresh the page. The Vikings are $23 million over the cap. 23.2 if you want to get exact. He is number 2 right under Kirk Cousins. $19.967 million. A $20 million receiver. That's Justin Jefferson money. That's not Justin Jefferson production. So this is the comment here.
If Thielen was still the red zone threat he was, getting 10 touchdowns a year or something like that, I'd be like, all right.
I wouldn't even pay him that much just for that. You can't just be a one-trick pony. You've got to do a lot of things for $20 million wide receiver.
10 touchdowns is a pretty good trick, though.
I mean, sure, but I still want my – if you're getting paid wide receiver 1 money, you better be putting up 1,400 yards. Can't leave it all to JJ. That's crazy to me.
Yeah, when Justin Jefferson struggled, the Vikings offense just struggled to move the ball until Hawkinson came in, and at some points Hawkinson was moving the chains by himself out there with throws from Kirk.
Yeah.
Here's a good comment. Everybody get void years, throwing out anchors on the future. That's got to stop. Anchors on the future is such a good analogy. The
one contract that I keep looking at and is just so obviously gone is going to be Eric Kendricks. That contract is bad.
So I'm going to open his stuff up here in a new tab. If you go to spottrack.com, SPOTRAC, no K in there. For 2023, this is his last year with the Vikings on this current contract. He is a $1.9 million dead cap hit, $11 million on the season if he stays, 9.1 base salary. But he did not play. It was one of his worst years of football, if not his worst last year. So
yeah, I don't see any way they pay him that to stick around based off that performance. And it's weird because as Vikings fans watching him over the years, you'd think he would have thrived in a 3-4 where he had those 2 linebackers back there to move around. And Kendricks has that speed, and one of the major concerns about him coming into Minnesota before he was drafted was that he was undersized, and it was his speed and ability that allowed him to really thrive in Minnesota. And now he's got an opportunity to really showcase this. I don't know if it's an age issue or a decline issue or what it is, but he just doesn't seem like a great fit anymore.
It's got to be a healthy combination of both, because when Anthony Barr left last year, it wasn't like, oh my God, we lost a franchise player. He was getting old too. But I think the combination of the defense just being bad and then him getting older kind of showed pretty glaringly last year. We haven't seen him.
And it's not like Barr went to Dallas and thrived or anything.
Correct. That's a good point. It was just more glaringly obvious last year. One more thing too, just to go back on the Thielen stuff. I joke around saying it's wide receiver 1 money, but think about this point of view and mind frame. When you're going to pay a guy who's your wide receiver 2 that much, you've got to think about when your wide receiver 1 isn't on the field, whether he's taking a break or he tweaked an ankle and he's out that week. When Justin Jefferson leaves, this offense it stalls out. I'm just going to call it that. It's going to be a lot different and not in a good way. So the guy that steps up next, can they carry the load? I don't think neither KJ Osborn nor Adam Thielen can carry the load there. TJ Hawkinson is going to be the safety.
And I'm not sure Dalvin Cook can either.
Correct. It's a good point. TJ Hawkinson is going to share and shoulder that load, and he's a great, 7 to 8 yard target, slants or whatever. He's not going to break the top off a defense. They can scheme him in that way, but I want my wide receiver two to be, I'm trying to think of who else.
Last season, Adam Thielen had that back injury and he needed the back surgery to fix it. And I really think that really changed the way he's playing this game. I think he's playing a lot more careful and a lot safer. And that could be a reason he's not doing what he has been doing in the past.
And I hate to compare players because youth obviously plays a role here. But, think about the tandems that we've had the last couple of years. We've been spoiled with Diggs and Thielen, now Jefferson and Thielen. Look at Cincinnati. Jamar Chase is clearly their number one receiver. But T. Higgins is a damn good wide receiver number two. If he goes down to Atlanta or somewhere like that, he's the wide receiver one immediately. I don't know that Adam Thielen goes to any team in the NFL outside the Vikings right now, and he's the clear wide receiver one. That's the kind of talent when I talk about that, right? That's the kind of talent when I say what's your wide receiver two is going to be. That's what I'm looking for. So a T. Higgins type.
He could probably push Garrett Wilson.
Sure.
You go to the Giants, be receiver one.
Yeah, the Giants need they need like 7 wide receivers.
Yeah.
All right, Mike, let's see what Mike says. This team should reward players that have their whole career in a Vikings uniform, not necessarily cash, but let them stick around. I think they earn a spot. See, I don't know if I agree with that because the goal going forward is going to be to win a championship. And what if Adam Thielen, even if he restructures and he's only like $4 million a year, what if he takes away from a second-round rookie wide receiver who can just change the game?
Yeah, the thing is the players need to know when to hang it up, and the players hang around too long. That gets to be the problem. Like, I love that Chad Greenway played his entire career in Minnesota, and he hung it up before he started to decline really hard, and I think that really helped his time in Minnesota as well as his legacy with Minnesota because fans remember him as being a very good linebacker.
I agree with Mike a little bit here, only if the player is on board with understanding what their role is towards the end of their career. And right now, Adam Thielen doesn't seem like he's on board with that. But I mean, hey, if you sat him down and you got on the same page and you said, look, we're going to, through free agency and the draft, address the receiver position. You're going to move down the depth chart. You're going to be that number 3 at best, but you're probably looking at being that rotational number 4 guy. But we still want you to be on the team because we still think you can catch touchdowns and you can still be that locker room leader, veteran, whatever. I'd be okay with bringing him back on the cheap. The problem is that most veteran players are not willing to do that, but then he'll go, this is what always annoys me too, is that then you'll see them go in free agency and he'll fill that role for some other stupid team when it's like you could have just stuck around in Minnesota and done the same thing.
Well, here's a counter to and agreeing with at the same time.
Yeah.
I know it's a double-edged sword.
Right.
What if Adam Thielen still thinks he can play and he gets to go on a contender and go chase a championship somewhere?
I mean, right.
Go do that too, man. What if the Kansas City Chiefs, and I know they wouldn't do this, but here's where I want to go next. Adam, I'm not interrupting you. I'm just telling everybody where we're going to go next. 2023 free agent trackers at the wide receiver position. Here we go. Average salary, $1.24 million. Mecole Hardman, 25 years old. Go sign that fucking kid. Send him out. Go get him if he's unrestricted or a restricted free agent. Adam Thielen, go chase a championship. You have 2 more years of healthiness left.
Another huge problem with Adam Thielen is that it wasn't that long ago that he and Stephon Diggs were 1A and 1B, if you remember that.
Correct. That's a solid point.
And he is not 1A, 1B with Justin Jefferson.
Not to be fair, not many people are, but it's definitely not him now at this point in his career. Now that 2018 8 games in a row, 100-yard season, like that was kind of cool, but
oh yeah,
he's not there anymore, and that's fine.
Well,
but in his mind, it might not be that long ago, and his agent can still try to sell him that way.
That's the thing about it, though. That money that he's got, and I'm not Adam Thielen. I love you so much. You're one of my favorite Vikings ever. But the thing is, he's not going to starve the rest of his life. He's made his millions, and he earned every cent of that, especially with the story that he had. But if you're going to cut it dry and leave the emotion and the history out, it's what can you do for me now, right now, league. And him being the second biggest cap hit on the team is absurd. So, I think a pay cut is fair. I think that's the overall point of this episode. A pay cut is fair.
You also have to look at the offense and go, well, where, you've only got so much cap money. Where are you spreading it around? So we know you're going to pay a lot of money to Kirk Cousins. We know Justin Jefferson is going to get a lot of money. So what else are you, how much of your cap are you going to fill in at just the wide receiver position? That's why I don't know if moving forward, I don't think you go the 1A, 1B receiver route where you're like, oh, we got Diggs and we got Thielen, and they're going to split time, and it's just going to be grand underneath the purple rainbow, and we're all going to be happy together in the end zone, and we're not going to do that. We're going to pay Justin Jefferson a lot of money to be wide receiver 1, and he's going to be the focal point, and he's going to catch a lot of passes, and we need someone else to be the wide receiver 2.
So let me ask you guys, do you think KJ Osborn has leapfrogged Thielen yet, or do you think
yes,
do you think Osborn is better in that 3 role and should stay there?
I think he has clearly surpassed physically Adam Thielen. I don't think it's by 5 football field margins by any means, but yes, 100%. And part of it we have to consider, even though it's not fair, is how much time do you spend on the field? KJ doesn't get hurt because he's young,
right?
And let me add another point too.
Okay.
I'm here at the free agent trackers. I'm looking at age, but I'm also looking at cap and then production. I don't know how many touchdowns Adam Thielen had last year, but I know it wasn't double digits. So I'm looking at Allen Lazard and Jacoby Myers. Allen Lazard, 27, Jacoby Myers, 26. Both had 809 and 629 yards, respectively, and both had 6 touchdowns. That's Adam Thielen numbers all day long. Guess what the cap hit on both of those guys are? Take a wild guess at a number.
I have no idea. What is it?
$3.9 million each. Same salary.
So sign both of them.
That's the point that I want to say right there. You can save money and get the production from an Adam Thielen. That's why, and I agree, Mike. He is absolutely he's a dog, man. I was at the Carolina game 2 years ago where he walked off. He took his helmet off just like Diggs. It was like that was an homage to Diggs. Dude can ball, man. And he's caught some good touchdowns late in games, too. Like, I have nothing but respect, and he's definitely going to be on the team. I think he is. But you can get more bang for your buck. That's kind of the point of this episode with Adam Thielen. Like, if he wants to stay at a reduced number, I'm all for it. But at the current number that he's at, absolutely not, dude. No way. Justin Jefferson's going to take that second most expensive spot on the team very shortly, I would probably guess. The next coming months, that'll be one episode.
Oh yeah,
that's all we talk about.
Hopefully, he doesn't get Michael Thomas money, but hope he does all right.
I just hope it. I don't think it's going to change his attitude or his personality at all. I think he knows he's going to get paid. I hope he does. I hope some magic weird thing doesn't happen where he just gets injured all of a sudden after he gets all this money, because he hasn't to this point. That's the thing I worry about the most. But this is the wide receiver episode. I knew this would be spirited. I knew it would be a good topic. But you guys, if you get bored, and a lot of you guys are doing the same thing I'm doing, you're going on PFF and doing the draft simulator, go to Spot Track and look around at free agent wide receivers. I didn't even start until I got to the $6 million range, and the first name up there for $6 million was Julio Jones. No thanks. I'm going to go down and look at age, production, and costs. And right here I see 2 younger players that have about the same production for a whole hell of a lot less money. Juju, unrestricted free agent, 26 years old, $3.7 million. Jarvis Landry, he's 30. I don't know if I want him.
If Rick Spielman was still in the front office, I wonder if he would still look at these long-term Vikings players through the purple glasses the way that Kwesi doesn't have to, or probably doesn't.
Right.
Because as fans, sure, we want these players to stick around and finish their careers here. We would all love that. But it just can't happen all the time.
Unrestricted free agent, Mecole Hardman, 24 points. So he's 29 years or 25 years old, basically. 300 yards, 4 touchdowns, $1.2 million. I mean, come on. There's plenty of places you can go and spend cheap money to get production, man. It's there.
Exactly, and it's also, you got to think it would be an interesting destination for a free agent receiver. You're not going to get big money because that's going to Jefferson, but you're also playing in an offense with T.J. Hawkinson and Justin Jefferson, who's going to pull a lot of coverage. That should give you some opportunities on the field to go out there and make some plays with those two. Plus, you've got maybe Dalvin Cook. We don't know what they're going to be doing quite with that, but I mean, you're going
And
to
you can
have
hate Kirk all you want, but he's an accurate quarterback. He can throw you the football accurately.
He definitely is.
If you get rid of Dalvin Cook, you save $7.8 million right off the bat. So that brings you down to negative $15 million, $7.89 million in total savings. So I know how Kyle West feels about that. Yeah. Mike, we agree with you, man. We like all of these guys. There's nothing personal here. It's just trying to make sense of the formula that is the salary cap, how it's going to work. And that's the thing that keeps the NFL the most watched,
Oh, Kyle's got a pup that's going to be doing the pee-pee dance here in a little bit.
No, this one is not the one we had last week. This one is very good about being housebroken. I love it. This is my personal dog. Hey, buddy, what do you think? Should Adam Thielen go somewhere else? All right.
He says no. That's a no look.
It just goes stare. Well, let's end the show with this. We should go after a playmaker on defense, maybe trade her up. Yeah, I mean, like we said last week and the week before, every level of the defense could be improved. It really depends on who's staying and who's going, which I have a feeling will come in the next few days, next 2 weeks, I would say.
You could add a first-round player on defense at any position, in any position out there, and if he's good, I'm happy. It's a good pick.
I'm not a fan of. Yeah, this is my personal dog. This is my pet dog. I've had him since. If you guys have been following the show for a long time, I've been a traveling road circus for the last 5 to 6 years. I got this dog in El Paso, Texas, and he has been all over the country with me. He's such a sweetheart. Doesn't bark, doesn't pee in the house. He's wonderful. Andrew says, I am not a fan of cutting or trading Cook. I don't think his value is high enough for it to be worth it. True, but remember that graphic that we and other shows like this one right here have used about Super Bowl winning teams and the cap hit on the starting running backs.
I still don't think Minnesota has a plan in behind Cook that they're in a position to really let him go at this point.
That's a good point.
If there was a better strategy as far as replacing him, I know they might have been trying to do that with some of the guys they were drafting, but then they never took the opportunity to develop those players behind Cook. I don't know if Minnesota expected to not be as competitive as they were last year or what the deal was, but a lot of guys who probably should have gotten time to develop didn't.
It's unfortunate, but that's exactly right. Kind of the what ifs and what could have beens at this point because we don't know. I can tell you this, though. Running back it's not a dying position. It'll always be there, but it's definitely shifted in the way it's used, the way it's calculated, and the value definitely. I don't know. I still think he's a top 5 running back. Maybe he's number 5, but he's a very good running back, depending on who's got the money to pay for him. That's
very few teams are operating with a feature back these days.
Right.
And the ones that are seem to be regretting it a little bit. I mean, look down in Dallas. They gave Ezekiel Elliott a lot of money for Tony Pollard to pass him up.
That's what I don't want here. Oof.
I know we already had our running back show.
Right, but it's worth mentioning, though, because like I said, you've only got so many positions on offense that you're going to have big money players at. Quarterback, we got one at quarterback, we got one at receiver, we got one at tight end. Right and left tackle are both money positions for this team. I just don't think that you're also going to have a big contract out there at running back anymore. At some point, you've got to start saving some of that cap space, and I think that that's one of the positions that you can fairly easily cut back on.
Dead cap would be.
I don't think any of the
6.2
three of
million.
us feel comfortable enough about talking about prospects at receiver coming up in the draft. I know I've done almost no research on that
Yeah,
myself.
I
I've
haven't.
done none. We will. We'll do a little bit. We're not a super big film breakdown draft prospect analysis show, but we'll take a good look at the YouTube highlights. Like I said earlier, I'm looking for separation, how the catchability and the radius and all that fun stuff, speed. I also want to see if any of these guys have return highlights too. That's always a bonus. But we'll end it
I
on
look at that route running. That's almost my number one.
correct.
Crisp routes. I've seen too many Vikings players that we thought were high potential receivers coming in with those rounded off routes and corners just following them. It's like,
Treadwell?
no.
So Dalvin Cook, the interesting stuff, we can end it on this, still has, including this season, 3 years left on his current deal. So,
Oh my God, really?
yeah, dude. Base salary
Thanks,
this
Rick.
year. Yeah,
Thanks,
shit.
Rick.
10.4 million this year, 11.9 in 24, 12.9 in 25.
Well, you got to remember, too, when Rick was here, Dalvin Cook was kind of taking over as that face of the franchise.
Yeah.
It's true.
Like, they were pushing his merchandise a lot. I have a Dalvin Cook apron for the kitchen.
Nice. I love that. It'll be interesting to see, especially because he's been vocal about saying, I'm not taking a pay cut. So that's the most interesting part. But this being the wide receiver show, we went over some of the practice squad guys. We went over, fringe guys, and then basically the people you see on the field every week. Justin Jefferson, we know he's going to stay. They're going to find an extension. We will definitely talk about that when it happens on the show.
And he will get paid, and it will be a lot of money.
Yeah, and I know it's not anybody particularly on this show because we all love that guy and realize his value. I don't want to see a bunch of that shit on the internet talking about we paid him too much. Don't talk.
And I know
That-
Justin Jefferson saying, well, I'm not too fond of money. I've seen that quote almost everywhere, and I'll tell you one thing. His agent is going to be very, very fond of it.
Well, that's the other thing too, sir. We also know you're not playing this game for free, so we understand.
Yeah, right.
We understand. Like, I get the humbleness in that quote, but you also are going to get paid. He doesn't have to be fond of it because he knows it's coming. That's what's great.
Justin Jefferson, good lord, he's probably one of the 5 or 6 most marketable players in the NFL right now. Just in terms of,
I've loved watching other players' kids walk up to him being like, "You're my favorite player."
yeah.
It's like, what?
I mean, in terms of, okay, so if we're not going to include quarterbacks because you're always going to, your quarterbacks are different.
So we're not talking about Paxton Lynch?
Yeah, Paxton Lynch.
AJ McCarron's been in the headlines this week.
I mean, obviously, your Patrick Mahomes, those guys are your top out there. But, Justin Jefferson might be the most recognizable non-quarterback player that, the league can market.
He has to be. He's the offensive player of the year. You're absolutely right, Kyle. Absolutely right.
Mr. Smith, do you know why I mentioned Paxton Lynch?
He got benched.
He became the only quarterback to get benched in every professional football league.
This is the one.
So,
that's a great stat.
What was it? NFL, XFL.
That ACFL or whatever it was. And then the CFL.
Yeah, holy cow.
Poor guy. Wasn't he of Denver?
Paxton Lynch is marketable. TJ Hopkins is a great guy. He played some really fun games. He did a Mega Man marathon, beating up a bunch of the Mega Man games in a row the other night. Good guy. Recommend checking him out over on Twitch if you do.
What's up, DJ? That's awesome. I love the graphic on there. Twitch rules for that. God, that's so funny. What about the ACL? Who's ACL? Who are we talking about?
Don't jinx us.
I can't remember the initials of that league. ACFL, is it? I don't know.
USFL?
Yeah.
USFL, there you go.
I forgot about that.
Yeah.
I know it was a bunch of letters that I just forgot about that league entirely for a moment.
Is that stupid fan-controlled football league still a thing?
I don't know. I never saw it.
The one that had, Johnny Manziel and Chad Ochocinco and...
I remember hearing about that, but I never saw it.
So funny, you guys, if you've been following the show for a while, back in the heyday between 2017 and 2019, I was the biggest advocate for the Dan Le Batard show while they were still on ESPN. And since I'm happy they got their money leaving there, but they have just become way too political for my liking. But they posted some stuff yesterday on Instagram, and it was like, AJ McCarron's an idiot because he's like, AJ McCarron's also been in the news because, like, I wanted to go to a place where my kids could have the memory and see me play and do cool stuff because he's not getting that in the NFL. And they're like, "You're an idiot. Backup quarterback's the best job in the league. What are you talking about?"
I don't know.
A post of The Rock was like, I respect that so much.
Yeah.
And, sure, you can respect it, but you're also taking away from your family's money.
Hey,
it's a tough call to make, but if he's... I've always said this. If you're at your job and you're not having a good time, then you might be in the wrong place.
That's a good point. And he is winning at life because I remember when he was playing in the national championship or in the college football playoffs, the old creepy men were looking at his then girlfriend at the time, and he ended up marrying that girl, a beautiful young lady, and he has a family with her. So he won at life in a lot of ways. But, dude, backup quarterback, it's the best job ever.
Yeah. But he's done that, though. I'll stick up for him. He's done that for a while in the league. So
it's time for him to have a little bit of glory.
If he's smart with his money, he should be financially set for the rest of his life.
That's a good point.
So, you know what? I get where he's coming from. He wants to go out there and he wants to play and not have any kind of what ifs about it.
No, I've not been keeping track of Kyle Sloter. Do you think Kyle Sloter's doing? Have you guys seen anything about how he's doing in the XFL?
I haven't heard.
I've heard nothing.
Things I didn't think I'd look up on a Vikings podcast. AJ McCarron's net worth $5 million. He's doing okay.
A few more dollars than I got.
Hey, just a few.
I'm doing okay enough right now to where I've got a spare bag of cat food. Like, if my cat food bag runs out, I have another one ready to go. I don't have to run to the store.
I've never felt such a statement before in my life. I judge my paychecks between how low the dog food is getting. Oh, never mind. That's his net worth. His career earnings are at $15 million. Yeah, he's doing all right. Didn't think I'd look that up on a Vikings show. That's awesome. I think that'll wrap it up, ladies and gentlemen. We're an hour and 12 minutes into this show. I didn't think it was going to go that long.
It's always fun, though.
Great stuff in the chat. Appreciate it.
I've got a fun announcement that DJ Hopkins might enjoy. I am purchasing a new computer that I will be able to stream a lot better with. So I will probably be playing a lot more Overwatch and things like that over on Twitch, along with some community games that are a lot of fun to join. You won't need a game to play yourself. You can just play along on your screens. It'll be a lot of fun. I'm looking forward to all that.
Breaking gaming news in the Smith household. I am about to buy a Nintendo Wii again. I will finally have a gaming system in here. I'm so excited about it.
There you go. Great game system. Bring a girl back to your house, do some Wii bowling. There you go.
Dude, Wii golf is my jam. It is I'll waste 3 hours.
I shank it every time.
I just love it so much. Wii bowling is fun. Wii tennis is fun with a group. I'm so stoked to get that.
I do want to add a little bit of a sad note. I do want to let our viewers know that you did not see Mew during this episode because Mew passed away the other night. 20 years old. Mew passed away, so rest in peace. He's a good cat. Had him a long time, long, full life. I will devote this episode to him.
Rest in peace, Mew. I know Bernie Cat's riding solo now, but he was a very big part of the show for a long time. And we know you're grieving, Adam. It's never fun to lose your pet, but 20 years, hell of a run. Hell of a run.
I do believe he knocked your laptop to the floor one time.
Oh, no, that was the burn.
that was Bernie. I knew
He's a big, clumsy boy.
Oh, man.
That is another reason why I'm getting a actual desktop that I'm going to put on my computer desk. So that I don't have a laptop, I'm just putting on a stand that Bernie will end up knocking over.
He will still find a way to lay on the keyboard.
Oh, the cats love that stuff. They really do.
I wanted to give a shout out to, or not really a shout out, but an update to. I have been lazy, and I'm so sorry. We're naturally late on this show, and I blame both of these guys because I'm on time for everything else but the podcast. Our Survival League winner, I haven't mailed your stuff yet, but I'm on it this weekend. I will be ordering your gift for winning. We do a prize every year that you don't pay a single penny for. You're going to get the item that you chose from Kyle West's website here. You can get Purple People podcast merch as well as any of his photography prints. If you decide to get the Prince or Purple People Pod merch. You can put them on a lot of items like a cell phone case, a coffee cup, a mouse pad, whatever. You can also do clothing. And I'm going to put in a special goodie for you in there. I don't think
Can I get Kyle West on a body pillow?
You could cuddle with him every night.
No, you cannot.
This is hilarious. Charlotte's my sugar mama. I'm a domestic homemaker now. That's amazing.
There you go.
There you go. That's a fun comment. But I want to give him a shout out. If you do end up listening to this episode, I haven't forgotten about you. I'm going to send that out. The fun extra that I'm going to send in is, and I don't think their eBay store is up anymore, but Bud Grant's wife had a lot of stuff for sale, old Vikings memorabilia, which I have a couple of the practice shirt from like the 70s or 80s, which is amazing. Plain white shirt with Vikings logo and writing on it. It's one of my favorite items. But every time you order something from there, he'll sign like a game press card or whatever for whomever they're playing. So you're going to get something with Bud Grant's autograph on it too, for absolutely no cost to you. It's our way of saying thank you for the Survival League and winning that. So I got you, man. It's going out soon. I'm sorry it took so long, but better late than never, I guess.
Yeah, I don't even know if Bud Grant's doing his annual garage sales anymore.
He's getting up there. I know I did see on Twitter, like Chuck Foreman's still really active. I know he's not as old as Bud, but him and Carl Eller and Bud Grant were at something.
If you live in the Twin Cities area, you can usually catch him and maybe some of the other older Vikings quarterbacks making the rounds. Tommy Kramer does it, where he'll hit a bar and do a Vikings game watch with him.
Tommy Kramer's very active in the Vikings community. It's a lot of fun to look. Yeah, we're going to do the Survival League every year. Yeah, it's the best one. Negative 19 degrees. But
yeah.
Oh, they don't make them like that anymore, man. That's funny. We did Kyle West's store. You can follow him here on his social media pages. Promote everybody's stuff real quick before we end the show.
We have not promoted your stuff yet.
Well, we're going down the list here. We mentioned at the top of the
show. I already got covered.
That's fine. We'll do it again. You can get double the love. Viking Games, you can get our own Adam Carlson's articles there. Make sure you go in under click on the article, go underneath, comment. It's really good.
And we just got a new team member over there who we're excited to get their point of view out there. You're always welcome to apply over at the Viking Age. Adam Patrick is the official, I believe, site representative. So he does a great job getting content out that'll get people talking.
He does. He's very good at that.
My content, not quite as conversational, but I definitely love to express my opinion.
And you can find his other opinions to include beautiful cat photos and lots of cat talk here at MN Viking Zombie on Twitter, Twitch, YouTube, Instagram, wherever.
Even on the Tickety Talks.
Tickety Talks. I got to make one of those. I haven't made one in a while. Shout out to everyone that's supported me at coming to my shows. I'm a musician on the side. I played at Overflow in Mooresville, North Carolina this weekend. I made a ton of money, which is great because I'll be honest, I didn't have that good of a time. And unfortunately, my sound is still not quite dialed in, so I'm trying to get over that. I know the acoustics in that place is hard because it's a younger crowd and it's very loud. But I am very grateful to be able to play music that I would just be playing in this chair, streaming live, to play out in public and make some money. So,
I got a question for you, Smith. Do younger people still shout "Play Freebird," or is it something more modern?
It's somebody every show. Freebird every single time.
Oh, that's good.
So, fun story about that. While we
can you play Freebird?
Hell no! I can play Simple Man all day long. I can't play Freebird. Yeah, so in my old band, shout out to my wonderful friends for life in the band Cheap Whiskey when I was in Virginia. You guys remember those days?
I do.
I was in a cover band. We played everything. Anything top 40, rock, metal, pop, alternative, we played it. So I had to pitch it to because I was one of the younger guys, if not the youngest dude in the band. I was like, hey, that last third set when everybody's super hammered, we should play like alternative hits and rock and roll stuff from my era because people love that. My Own Worst Enemy from Lit, some Green Day, and whatever else. And that's kind of what I pushed here in my sets is a lot of Green Day, Matchbox 20, Marcy Playground.
Boomer music.
Yeah, now it's a classic rock, which pisses me off. But I ended my set with the one that I used to play there, She Hates Me from Puddle of Mud. And you would not believe the crowd response on that stupid song. Everybody knows it. Everybody loved it. So I had a good time.
You know, you could probably actually front Puddle of Mud at this point. Their
Do
lead
you say
singer.
frickin', or do you actually
What's that?
do you swear during your performances?
So I started it out the first chorus. I did drop the F-bombs, but at the end, I kind of just let people do it in the crowd because I don't want to like make the bar mad, but I'm also like I'm on the train of it's just a sound. You're gonna be okay. I'm not gonna incite a riot or anything, but
So Andrew in the chat says Wonderwall, and I actually have a little bit of a funny story about that. I went to a live WWE show, and during the commercial break, Elias was out there, and he played Wonderwall for us during the commercial break.
I
That's
love
awesome.
that so much. I love it. I do not play Wonderwall, Andrew. I try to avoid the cliches of some random dude at a party picking up a guitar, and the joke is when you put the capo here on the second fret, everybody's gonna roll their eyes like, well, we know what's coming. It's that stupid Oasis song.
But do you play like John Mayer?
No, he is far more skilled. I can play slow dancing in a burning room on a basic level, which I love. That's a great
How about some
song.
fun Jack Johnson?
Jack Johnson is fun. I don't have him in my set, but I will add some because, God, just saying the goofy words in Banana Pancakes.
Speaking of goofy words, how about Jason Mraz?
That's a fun word too. This is a part of the show that I love the most. Like I love talking about Viking stuff, but this random stuff.
Oh, Kenny Wayne Shepherd, Blue on Black, man.
I do. Play
Yeah,
Blue
that's a
on Black.
classic.
What's fun, and I'll do it here to end the show. What's fun about that is you guys, if you're not a musician or music savvy, a lot of songs sound the same, right? So when I play "When I Come Around" by Green Day, it's so that same chord progression is "Push" from Matchbox 20.
Oh yeah,
It's the same thing. Blue on Black, it goes great with that song "Can't You See" by Marshall Tucker Band. Those are the same chords in the same progression at the same speed. So I love that you mentioned Kenny Wayne Shepherd because kind of a one-hit wonder, but he's an amazing musician as far as like hits. But you can play these fun songs people recognize, and they're super easy. It's the same thing over and over. It's an easy day for me at the office. But this is fun. Thank you guys for bringing some music in here. I appreciate that. It's been a fun show. These
Smith
are all
and I've been talking about doing another horror podcast here pretty soon. Fingers crossed we can get that done.
We're going to get Megan down because I've been holding off for my sister-in-law to go. We got shout out to Movie Pass. I don't know if you guys have heard of it, but it's back. Movie Pass rules because you can go to so many movies a month for a flat rate, which is cool. They kind of have dictated on the days and shows you can go to, but it's still a cheaper value, a good value, cheaper for your wallet. I've been holding out for that, but now that we haven't done that, I'm just going to watch Megan. So
yeah, watched on Peacock. There's the unrated version, which is actually shorter than the theatrical version, but it is more brutal a little bit.
I'll gladly watch that. There is a new Scream coming out. I have a feeling it's going to disappoint me and break my heart, but it comes out on my birthday next Friday.
I finally saw an ad for it.
It looks bad.
Well, I was playing a game on my phone. An ad came up for it, and I like that they're kind of taking a little bit of a different direction with it.
That's the only thing that makes me excited about it because they do a lot of meta talk in that, and they talk about making fun of themselves, which is great for horror.
Because, man, that was getting stale.
It was. Mm-hmm. I did like the last one that came out that they brought it back to the original house. Thought that was pretty cool because you didn't recognize it at first. But
I did not like the last one.
It didn't work for me either.
Nope. That's a franchise that we don't need to hear anything more from.
I have been watching shark horror movies lately. That's been my thing.
Fun. Thank you, Charlotte. I'm turning 35 and I feel 53, so that's cool. Oh man. Well, I think we're gonna wrap it up.
I'm feeling 22.
I don't know about you. I do play Taylor Swift in my shows.
But I do want to thank everyone for joining us here, especially in the chat, where it's so nice to have you guys here to join in the conversation and kind of steer us in the right direction sometimes. Even if it's not a Vikings direction, it's fun to have conversation. That's what it's all about, bringing people together, having a nice talk. That's what this is all about. So thank you to everyone for coming on in and joining us. You can check us out wherever podcasts are found. You can catch us live on Facebook, YouTube, and the MN Viking Zombie Twitch channel, which I believe we had people from all three in here today. Fantastic stuff.
Woohoo.
Sure did.
So we'll be back, if not within the next 7 days. It'll probably be sometime with around a week.
Like The Ring, we'll see you in 7 days. Or was that what was the one with the videotape?
No, The Ring was 7 days.
The Ring was 7 days?
Yeah.
I get all those, The Ring, The Grudge, all those confused.
See, you got to watch the original versions, and then you won't get them as confused. Ringu is much better than The Ring.
Yeah. I've heard that. I've never seen it, but I've heard that.
Yeah, the original foreign films. Me and Kyle Smith end up watching some foreign horror that turns out all right.
Some of them are great, some of them not so much, but the last one we did was very awesome. It was. I couldn't have thought up some of these scenarios. It was great.
But yeah, we'll be back next week. In the meantime, stay classy, Minnesota.